The Academy of Interstellar Sciences had seen many species walk its halls over the centuries. Zephyrians with their crystalline wings, Korathi with their 6 arms and mathematical minds, even the enigmatic voidlings who existed partially in subspace. But never had the faculty been as curious or as nervous as they were about their newest exchange student, a human. Professor Thane, a distinguished Altarian whose blue-scaled hide bore the scars of academic excellence, adjusted his teaching apparatus as he surveyed his xenobiology class. 23 students from 12 different species sat in the tiered amphitheater, all eyes, or optical sensors, focused on the containment chamber at the center of the room. Today, Professor Thane announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had cataloged over 10,000 alien species, we will observe the Catherian hunter beast in its natural aggressive state. This apex predator from the outer rim has never been successfully tamed by any known civilization. The human Marcus Chen sat quietly in the third row between a towering hegemite and a cluster of hive-minded chorus entities. His unremarkable appearance, brown hair, average height, wearing simple academy robes, had been the subject of much speculation since his arrival 3 weeks prior. The other students had expected something more impressive from the species that had somehow convinced the Galactic Council to grant them provisional membership, despite having barely achieved faster-than-light travel. The hunter beast, Professor Thane continued, activating a holographic display, weighs approximately 800 kilograms, possesses retractable titanium hard claws, and can leap distances of up to 50 meters. Its neural pattern shows classic predator psychology, territorial, aggressive, and utterly without fear. In the containment chamber, the beast paced restlessly. It resembled a cross between an earth tiger and something from humanity's worst nightmares. Sleek obsidian, fur covered a frame of pure muscle, while 6 amber eyes tracked every movement in the room. Occasionally it would test the force field barriers with exploratory swipes of its claws, sending ripples of energy across the containment system. Now, Professor Thane said, his finger hovering over a control pad, I will lower the primary barrier to demonstrate the creature's natural hunting response. The secondary containment will of course remain active for our safety. The Zephyrian student Melody chimed nervously with her crystalline vocal cords. Professor, are you certain? This is wise. My species archives contain 17 separate accounts of hunter-beast incidents across the galaxy. Quite certain, Miss Melody. The secondary barrier has never been breached. What Professor Thane didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the secondary barrier had developed a microscopic fracture during the previous day's maintenance cycle. The Academy's automated systems had classified it as non-critical, well within acceptable parameters. The primary barrier flickered and died. For a heartbeat, the hunter beast stood perfectly still, as if unable to believe its fortune. Then its 6 eyes fixed on the largest target in the room, a massive Korathi student named Vex who sat in the front row. The beast's muscles coiled like loaded springs. It launched itself forward with terrifying speed. The secondary barrier flared brilliant. White as 800 kilograms of predator struck it at full velocity. Energy crackled and sparked. For one horrible moment it seemed the barrier would hold. Then it shattered like glass. Chaos erupted in the amphitheater. Students scattered in every direction, some teleporting, others activating personal shield generators, and a few simply freezing in terror. Professor Thane frantically hammered at his control panel, trying to activate emergency protocols. But the hunter beast was already airborne again, its 6 eyes locked onto Vex. The massive Korathi tried to run, but his species hadn't evolved for speed. The beast covered the distance in a single bound, landing on the student's back and driving him to the floor. Its jaws opened wide, revealing rows of serrated teeth designed to tear through starship hull plating. That's when Marcus Chen stood up. He didn't shout, he didn't run. He simply raised his right hand, palm outward, and took a single step forward. The hunter beast froze mid-strike. For several seconds that felt like hours, predator and human regarded each other across the chaos of the classroom. The beast's 6 eyes narrowed, studying this small, unremarkable creature that dared to approach instead of flee. Marcus took another step forward, his hand still raised. The hunter beast's head tilted slightly, as if listening to something only it could hear. Its claws, which had been extended for the killing blow, slowly retracted. The creature's massive frame began to shift, powerful haunches settling toward the floor. Another step. Marcus was now only 3 meters away from a creature that had been the stuff of galactic nightmares for centuries. "Easy," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying no fear, no aggression, only a strange kind of understanding. "Easy, friend." The hunter beast's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. Its ears, which had been pinned back in attack posture, slowly rose and swiveled toward the human. Then, in a movement that stunned every witness, the apex predator of the outer rim lowered its massive head and settled into a submissive crouch. The amphitheater fell completely silent. Marcus lowered his hand and approached the beast without hesitation. When he reached out to touch its obsidian fur, the creature leaned into the contact like an oversized house cat. "Impossible," whispered Professor Thane. "The neural patterns, the psychological profile, no one has ever—" "Humans," Marcus said simply, still stroking the hunter beast's fur. "Spent 30,000 years learning to communicate with predators. We called them dogs, cats, horses. Even the dangerous ones, wolves, bears, big cats. We didn't conquer them. We learned to understand them." The beast's rumbling purr filled the chamber, a sound no galactic database had ever recorded. "On Earth," Marcus continued, "we have a saying, every animal is just 3 meals away from being tame. But it's not really about food. It's about recognition, respect. Understanding that sometimes the most dangerous creatures just need someone to see them as they truly are. Not monsters, but fellow travelers trying to survive in a vast universe." Professor Thane slowly approached, his sensors recording everything. But the aggression patterns, the territorial behavior. "Territory worth defending, food worth protecting, young worth raising," Marcus said. "The same drives that sent us to the stars." He looked up at the professor, then at his classmates who were slowly emerging from their hiding places. "The difference is we remember what it was like to be both predator and prey." The hunter beast lifted its great head and fixed its 6 eyes on Marcus. For a moment, an understanding passed between species separated by light years of evolution. Then the creature rose gracefully to its feet and walked calmly back to its containment chamber, settling down as if nothing had happened. As Professor Thane worked to restore the barriers, the other students gathered around Marcus, chattering in a dozen languages. But the human simply smiled and took his seat, already pulling out his notes for the next part of the lecture. In that moment, every being in the amphitheater understood why the Galactic Council had been so eager to welcome humanity into the greater community. It wasn't their technology or their military might that made them valuable. It was their unique ability to find kinship with the wildest things in the universe. The hunter beast, now safely contained once more, fixed its 6 amber eyes on Marcus and settled into a position that looked remarkably like a guardian's watch. And in the depths of space, word began to spread of a species that could tame the untamable, not through force but through an ancient wisdom born of walking the long path from prey to predator, to something greater still. Something that knew how to extend a hand in friendship to the monsters of the galaxy.